We bought a planet on credit. It was a bad idea. The interest rates alone were enough to crush a star, but we signed the contract anyway. The digital ink was still wet when the bank notified us. We had 30 cycles to make the first payment, or they would repossess our kneecaps. That is a joke, mostly. We stared at the view screen on the bridge. The planet sat there in the dark. It was a swirling ball of blue and gray. We could not even land yet. The atmosphere was thick with storms. Our captain looked at the readout. His name was Dave. Dave was not a hero. He was just a guy with a lot of debt. He tapped the glass. We needed to find something valuable down there. And we needed to find it fast. The galaxy was watching us. They wanted to see if we would fail. Most people bet that we would. I checked the odds on the interweb. They were not good. But we had a ship. We had a crew. And we had a desperate need for cash. That's a powerful motivator. We launched the surveyors first. These were small drones. They looked like silver bugs. We fired them into the upper atmosphere. The wind grabbed them immediately. Screens flickered on the bridge. Static washed over the monitors. Then the image cleared. We saw dunes. Endless miles of gray sand. It did not look like money. It looked like a beach with no ocean. Dave sighed. He rubbed his temples. Then a sensor pinged. It was a soft sound, but in the quiet bridge it sounded like a gong. We all leaned forward. The drone had found something. It was deep under the sand. A massive energy signature. It was consistent with heavy metals, or maybe something rarer. The crew started to cheer. Dave held up a hand. He told us to wait. We needed to be sure, but the data was clear. There was wealth down there, enough to pay the bank. Enough to buy a second planet, maybe one with nice beaches this time. We sent the drone lower. It skimmed the top of the dunes. The signal grew stronger. Then it changed. It stopped looking like a geological formation. It started looking like a pattern. Nature does not build in perfect squares. The drone camera zoomed in. We saw a structure. It was half buried in the sand. It pulsed with a faint blue light. The silence on the bridge was heavy. We had bought a planet. But it seemed someone was already living there. That was not in the brochure. Dave looked at the contract again. It said the planet was uninhabited. The bank had lied. I was shocked. Banks are usually so honest. The blue light pulsed again. It was rhythmic. It was not random noise. It was a beacon. And it was calling to us. We had a choice. We could leave. We could default on the loan. We could go back to flying cargo runs. Or we could answer. Dave looked at the crew. We were tired of cargo runs. He nodded once. We opened a channel. We sent a simple greeting, just a standard peace signal. We waited. The seconds ticked by. Then the static cleared. A sound came through the speakers. It was a deep hum. It vibrated in our chests. It felt like a greeting. It did not feel like a threat. But feelings can be wrong. Ask my ex. We prepped the landing craft. We packed weapons, just in case. We also packed gifts. Chocolate is universal. We hoped. The shuttle dropped through the clouds. The turbulence was bad. The ship shook like a leaf. Then we broke through. The view was incredible. The dunes rolled away to the horizon. And there they were, the source of the signal. Massive shapes hovered over a plateau. They were not ships. They looked like living rock. They were huge. You landed a safe distance away. The ramp lowered. The air smelled like ozone and spice. We walked out onto the sand. The massive shapes drifted closer. They cast long shadows over us. We felt very small and very poor. Dave stepped forward. He held his hands up, empty hands. It is a sign of peace. One of the shapes descended. It touched the ground without a sound. Dust did not even rise. A figure emerged from the stone. It was tall and thin. Its skin looked like polished obsidian. Its eyes were stars, literally. They swirled with light. These were the elders, or that is what we called them. The name stuck. The elder looked at Dave. It looked at the chocolate. It did not take the gift. It spoke. The voice was in our heads. It was not loud, but it was clear. It asked why we were here. Dave told the truth. He said we bought the place. The elder did not laugh, but the air rippled. I think that was amusement. They told us they were not for sale. This was a problem. The bank would not accept a return. We needed to negotiate. The elders were curious. They had not seen star travelers in ages. They proposed a game. If we won, then we could stay. If we lost, then we had to leave. And we had to leave the chocolate. That seemed fair. The game was not physical. It was not wrestling. Thank goodness. They were 10 feet tall. The game was memory. They wanted stories. They valued history above gold. They wanted to know where we came from. They wanted to know why we traveled. We sat in a circle on the sand. The sun began to set. The twin moons rose. We told them about Earth. We told them about our oceans. We told them about our wars. We told them about how we almost lost everything and how we rebuilt. We told them about music. Dave hummed a tune. It was a terrible song, but the elders listened. Their eyes swirled faster. They liked the story of the underdog. They liked that we kept trying, even when the odds were bad. They saw themselves in us. They too had struggled once. Long ago, the night passed. We talked until our voices were hoarse. The sun rose again. The lead elder stood up. It nodded. We had won. We were worthy. They would let us mine, but only in certain spots. We could not touch the holy sites. That was fine by us. We just wanted the metal. We shook hands, or rather, we touched fingers. Their skin was cold, but their grip was firm. We called down the mining pods. This was the fun part. Heavy machinery dropped from the sky. It slammed into the crust. Dust clouds billowed up. The drills spun up. The sound was a deep roar. It was the sound of profit. We hit the vein on the first try. Bright vapor shot up. It sparkled in the light. It was pure star metal. The rarest stuff in the sector. 1 ton would pay our debt. We had found millions of tons. The crew went wild. We were rich. We were finally free. But the universe has a sense of humor, and it is usually a dark one. The ground began to shake. It was not the drills. This was deeper. A crack appeared near the base. It widened fast. Orange light spilled out. It was not metal. It was raw thermal energy. The planet was waking up. We had drilled too deep. We had poked the bear. Sirens wailed across the camp. Shields snapped on. They shimmered blue in the heat. The rift grew larger. It swallowed a mining pod. The driver got out just in time. He ran faster than I have ever seen. Dave yelled orders. We had to stabilize the crust. We needed heavy gravity clamps. But they were still on the ship. The ship was in orbit. It would take too long. The shields were failing. Sparks rained down on us. The heat was intense. We were going to cook. Then we saw them. Lights on the horizon. Ships were coming. They were not ours. They were not the elders. They were a ragtag fleet, traders and drifters. They had heard our signal. They saw the energy spike. They came to help, or to loot. We hoped for help. A voice crackled over the radio. It was a rough voice. It offered assistance. For a price. Dave did not hesitate. He offered a share of the metal. The ships dipped low. They fired gravity beams. Blue lasers hit the rift. The ground shuddered. The cracks stopped growing. The orange light faded. We were safe. The ships landed. The crews poured out. They were a mix of species. Some had fur, some had scales. All of them were hungry. We broke out the rations. We had a feast on the sand. We shared stories. We shared music. It was a good night, but the elders were watching. They stood on the ridge. They did not join the feast. They were testing us again. The next morning they came down. The lead elder pointed to the rift. He said we had been careless. He was right. Greed had made us blind. He said we had to prove our worth again. This time it was a trial of fire. We had to walk the path of the rift. We had to seal it manually, with our own hands. It was dangerous. The radiation was high, but we had suits and we had allies. The traders stepped up. They said they would help. We were partners now. We walked into the steam. The heat warning blared in my helmet. I ignored it. We carried the sealers, heavy metal plates. We had to place them perfectly. The ground was unstable. One slip and you fall. It's a long way down. We worked as a team. Dave called the cadence. We moved in sync. Step and place. Step and place. The elders watched. They did not help. This was our mess. We had to clean it up. We placed the final plate. The hiss of steam stopped. The ground cooled. We walked back to the edge. We were exhausted. Our suits were scorched, but we were alive. The elder approached. He looked at the patch job. It was ugly, but it held. He nodded slowly. He bowed. It was a sign of respect. He waved his hand. The ground behind him opened. Not a rift this time. A vault. Crystals poured out. They glowed with soft light. These were more valuable than metal. They were energy cores. The elders were giving them to us. It was a gift and an apology. They had tested us hard, but we had passed. With the crystals, we built fast. New cities rose up. We used the local stone. We mixed it with alloy. Blast towers climbed the sky. They reflected the twin moons. The settlement became a hub. People came from all over. They wanted to see the elders. They wanted to buy the crystals. We built a market. It was loud and colorful. Floating lanterns drifted everywhere. Children chased them. Human children and others. They played tag in the plazas. They did not care about species. They just wanted to run. It was beautiful. Train routes opened up. Great wagons loaded with ore left daily. They headed for the jump gates. Wealth flowed back to us. We paid off the bank. We even paid the late fees. Dave bought a new uniform. He looked sharp. We were not just survivors anymore. We were citizens. We had a home. The planet was thriving. But peace never lasts. Not in this galaxy. Sensors picked up a shadow. It was deep in the nebula. A fleet was moving. It was not trading ships. These ships were black. They absorbed light. They moved like predators. They were heading for us. They wanted the crystals. They wanted the metal. And they did not want to pay. The alarm sounded. It was a low wail. The market cleared instantly. Civilians ran for the shelters. We ran for the ships. Dave was already on the comms. He was calling the allies. He was calling the elders. The shadow fleet arrived. They darkened the sky. There were hundreds of them. Their weapons charged up. Red light bathed the city. It looked like blood. A voice demanded surrender. It was a cold voice. It promised mercy. We knew it was a lie. Dave looked at us. He did not give a speech. He just nodded. We launched. Our ships were small, but they were fast, and we were not alone. The trader fleet rose with us. Bright banners flew from their hulls, and then the ground shook. The elders were joining the fight. Massive stone pillars launched. They were ships too, ancient ships. They glowed with white fire. The enemy paused. They did not expect this. They expected weak miners. They got a warrior planet. We formed a wall, a shield of unity, human alloy and elder stone. We opened fire. The sky lit up. It was blinding. Lasers crossed the dark. Explosions bloomed like flowers. We fought for our home. We fought for the kids in the shelters. We fought for the debt we paid. The enemy fleet broke. They could not break our line. They turned and ran. They fled back to the dark. We cheered. The sound filled the comms. We landed on the pad. Smoke rose from our hulls. But we were whole. The elders met us. They did not bow this time. They stood with us, shoulder to shoulder, or knee to shoulder. They are very tall. We were partners in truth now. Blood and oil had mixed. We decided to mark the day. We carved a stone. It was Starborn Rock. We placed it in the center plaza. It had no names on it, just a simple image. 2 hands clasping, 1 hand of flesh, 1 hand of stone. It was our promise. We would protect this place. We would protect each other. The planet seemed to hum. The crystals sang in the deep. It was a happy sound. We had bought a planet on credit. It was a crazy risk, but it paid off. Not in money, but in something real. We looked at the horizon. The twin moons were rising. The city lights twinkled on. It was a good view. Dave put his arm around my shoulder. He smiled. He asked if I wanted to buy a moon. I told him to shut up, but I was smiling too. We were home, and the story was just beginning. This was our legend, carved in the stars, and it was a good one.